Hey everyone, this is David B, and today I got kicked out of Longwood Gardens. Actually, that's a little bit of a lie because everyone got kicked out of Longwood Gardens, and let me explain. First of all, Longwood Gardens is a world-famous garden in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, USA, and it's a place you go and they have so many plants, flowers, they have beautiful fountains. It's just a really nice place to go and walk around, but especially the focus is on plants. Longwood Gardens is only a 15-minute drive from where I live right now and where I'll be living for maybe the next 6 months. So I decided I've never been there, but let me buy a membership and I'll start going because I think it looks like a really beautiful place. So I bought my membership on Monday. They were closed on Tuesday. And then yesterday, Wednesday, I went for the first time and I had a really good time. So today, Thursday, I went back again, and I got there around 1 o'clock because there was a fountain show that was at 1:15, and I wanted to see that. So I went and I watched that show, and then I liked it so much, there was another fountain show at 3:15. So I said, okay, I'll walk around for 2 hours, and then I'll watch the other fountain show, and then I'll leave. So I walked around, and then as it got close to 3:15, I went and the first show that I watched it sort of from the main viewing area where you have you're a little farther away, but you have an excellent view over everything. And there's some fountains in front of you kind of down low. And then there's the fountains in the back that are raised a little bit. So for the second show, I said, let me get closer to those raised fountains because they're the ones that are a little fancier. They're the ones that shoot the water higher into the air, and they do all kinds of fancy things with water crisscrossing, and it's just a little more spectacular. So I said, let me watch it a little bit close to that fountain. So it gets to be time for the show, and I'm standing there waiting, and there's other people standing there waiting, and 3:15 comes and goes, and 3:20, nothing's happening. And then we hear a voice come over the speakers, but the way that the speakers were near where we are and they project out towards where most people view it from. And so this voice came on and I could tell it was something like, we're sorry, blah, 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 blah. But there was so much echo because we were hearing it and also hearing it echo off the building at the other end. So I couldn't understand what they said. And so I just assumed that they were just saying, "Oh, we're sorry. There's some kind of malfunction. We can't do the fountain show." And so I kept walking around. I left the fountains and was walking around some other areas. And I noticed that there weren't very many people around. There were still some people, and I just thought it was because it had started to rain a little bit, and so that's why people had left. So I walked around for like another half hour, and then I was in a different spot. And the message came on again, and it said something like, we apologize, but Longwood Gardens is closing for the day. All guests, please make your way to the exit. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I felt bad because I was like the idiot who wouldn't leave, but it was just because I didn't hear the message the first time. So I left right away. And normally when you leave, you go out through the visitor center, which is the way you come in. But as I walked that way, they directed us to take a different path, which took us like around the visitor center and along the side of the parking lot, all the way to the back of the parking lot. And so I wasn't really sure what was happening, but I figured it was something with the visitor center. And anyway, so I left without incident. Not really a big deal, but you could when I left, you could tell they weren't letting anyone come in. And when I got back home, I started searching online, and I found some posts that apparently a large truck. The one post said it was like an empty milk truck. I'm not sure if that was correct, but definitely some kind of big tanker truck. It had driven into one end of the visitor center. And I think it's not the end where people go in, which I don't even know how you would drive into that part. But I think it was maybe one of the sides where there wouldn't really be guests. So I don't think anyone was injured except maybe the driver of the truck. I'm not sure why that truck would have been there or how it ended up driving into a building. Someone posted a photo and it showed the truck was like had smashed through a window into the building. So we'll see what the story is with that. But then they came out with an email and they said they're going to be closed basically almost a week until next Wednesday. So I was planning to go a bunch more times this week, but I guess that won't be happening. And then I'm going to be out of this area next week. So it'll be like 2 weeks until I get back and can go there again. But just funny that it was only my second time ever being there and something like this happens. So a little bit of excitement for the day. This is David B. Thanks for watching.